No, I mean they choose a career, so it's not whatever work is available to them they'll do. But they don't have a plan for their lives after choosing a career, so they lean further into it. It's not a holistic approach to life. Discipline is discipline. Hopefully you can pull it out of yourself. Hopefully life doesn't have to back you into a corner and force you to do it. I would hope more people understand that they don't need to go to prison or the military to be disciplined. Because a lot of breakthroughs that happen in science are made possible through data inspired by the spirit. Meaning a person does something that they weren't supposed to be able to do, but the inspiration for that person to do it was so strong that they accomplished it. Now science feels the need to have to explain it. But to a large extent, a person's longevity is based on how happy they are. But essentially, it's the same answer it always has. Just be yourself. Everything is rooted in you. Who are you? What are you? And how can you nurture that instead of trying to run from it?
Everybody's in reach.
Yes, everybody being in reach. Everyone is not in reach. You seeing someone doesn't mean that they're in reach. You having easier access to a virtual environment where this person dwells doesn't really mean that they're in reach for you. We approached women when we were younger, and some women approach men too. That's not like a new concept. The new concept is men not approaching women at all. I think that's one aspect of it. And I think another aspect of it is, which could potentially be the good part of this, is men realized to some extent that they had value also, that they didn't have to be the only ones approaching, and they were attractive too. So rather than approaching women, they leaned into what made them approachable as men.
Just now you said that you found that like dating is so interesting now. What have you heard? What have you seen that makes you say that?
I've heard and seen a lot of different things, bro. I think I've heard, I don't even know if I can tell you everything that I've heard. Essentially, I've heard that it's just a very fickle exchange. Meaning, the slightest misnomer is enough to terminate the possibility of you actually getting to know a person on a deeper level. Like, the opportunity that people are giving themselves to meet someone is very limited.
You think that's due to like unreasonable standards?
I think they've been doing to quite a few things. But ultimately, I think it's fear. I think it's fear of choosing the wrong partner. And a lot can go into why that person may be perceived as the wrong partner. So there's less interaction with each other and more of people living in their heads. And in your head, you can create something without real context. You can create something unrelated to real life experiences or even human nature in general. It's okay to want something that you've never seen before. That's not a problem. But you do want to have context and be able to connect it to something tangible. Even yourself. Right? It's not just a relationship with someone else, dating someone else. It's also who you are. Right? with the current state of interaction. You have a lot of people that are living for social media and believing their profile. And that's not real. But if you live for that, then the concept of that being real is almost something that you have to convince yourself is true. Because this is helping to create your public persona, but only digitally. But if your experience is only digital, then you can tell yourself that this is real. And anything outside of that picture perfect profile is eternal for you. So when you are interacting with a real human being and they don't fit the mold of this profile, it's very easy to be turned off by things that aren't really important. Because it's not perfect, it comes across as a flaw. And flaws are typically not aspects of people's profile. People are trying to show the best version of themselves, being flawless. And typically that's a mold that they're trying to fit into. Because what separates you from another person are your flaws. That's what creates a different standard of beauty. Right? If we have one standard of beauty and there's another person that we're trying to compare to this standard and they don't fit the mold of that standard, then they're essentially flawed. But there may be a group of people that think that this new standard is beautiful. Not standard, but this person that doesn't fit the standard is beautiful. And now you have a new version of beauty. But that doesn't seem to be what people are after. It seems to be one mold. Right? Like 50 Shades of Grey. And if you're not fitting that mold, then it's not really worth it. And as far as females, it's a very specific figure, hourglass figure. If you're not fitting that mold, then you're not beautiful. So I'm hearing a lot of things about dating, but most of it seems to be rooted in fear.
Yeah. Do you see a difference between where you grew up and where you are right now?
When you had to really interact with people before. If you wanted to meet anyone and build a real connection with them. Yeah, of course you had Craigslist and The Line and Black Planet and things like that. But you had to interact with them. And everything, it wasn't so fabricated because of that. You didn't have a profile back then. Maybe MySpace, you had a MySpace profile. That was like the first version of advanced social media, advanced connection between people. But even that was It was a far cry from what we have now. So when I was younger, you had to really get to know people. And now you don't.
Know people in order to do what?
Anything. I mean, you can go out on a date with someone without knowing them. That's how you got to know them, right? But we approached women when we were younger, and some women approach men too. That's not like a new concept. The new concept is men not approaching women at all. That's new, right? Or not nearly as much as they used to.
What do you think that is?
I think Me Too had something to do with it. And men realizing Me Too was twofold. One was men realizing how much of a predator women perceive them as. And also how beneficial that could be, or how detrimental it could be for men to be perceived as predatory. I think that's one aspect of it. And I think another aspect of it is, which could potentially be the good part of this, is men realized to some extent that they had value also. That they didn't have to be the only ones approaching. They were attractive too. So rather than approaching women, they leaned into what made them approachable as men. So now you have a bit of a shift there, where women are approaching men, but differently. It's like a soft approach. The approach is virtual. The approach is digital in a lot of instances. If it's an actual physical experience, meaning you're out and about and someone approaches you, I'd imagine it's quite rare today. I'm not in the field anymore, but from what I'm hearing from people, it's very rare. I hear from a lot of women, they don't get approached and don't approach them anymore. Young women are not accustomed to men approaching them, so they almost feel offended sometimes when a man is approaching them. Or, not always. I'm not saying they always feel offended, but sometimes. Or they feel excited, like, wow, somebody approached me, gave me a compliment. Now compliments are different. A compliment is a look, or someone smiling at you. There was a time when compliments were actually verbal compliments. Yeah. It was a more organic human interaction.
If you were to give advice to someone that's dating right now,
I wouldn't know what to tell you, my brother. I'm not in the field. I never dated. I only went on one date in my life. And I ended up marrying her. So I never dated anyone. If we were getting to know each other, we were getting to know each other. I made that very clear. We weren't dating. So even when I wasn't married, even before we met, I wasn't dating. We had to have an organic connection. I'm out, you out, we see each other every now and again. There's a good connection. Okay, we start hanging in the same crowds, or we realize that we have some mutual friends. We found ourselves at a party one night. We found ourselves having a long, extended conversation. Maybe we decide we want to get to know each other a little bit more because we enjoyed the conversation. We're just getting to know each other a little bit more. I'm not taking you on a date. Right? This is a casual experience. This is not me trying to get to know you a bit more with the intention of having a sexual experience with you, or with the intention of dating you someday in the near future. That wasn't what I was doing. So it was a different experience for me.
Right. So how do you go from getting to know each other then to a relationship?
Now,
No, then.
it was more organic then. It was after enough of those instances, one thing leads to another, and you have the conversation eventually. But we didn't start out that way, because I also have friends that we started out the same way. I have female friends. We started out the same way. It's the same with my male friends. We started out the same way. I wasn't dating them, obviously. We just hit it off, and I would see you at a party again. I would see you at the bar again. I would see you at the pool hall again. And enough of those interactions make a person say, hey, we should chill, we should catch up sometime. And not have it be this spontaneous, where I'm just bumping into you in different places and we have a good time. Let's schedule having a good time with each other. And then we build a relationship from there. That's with everyone. So with male friends and female friends, it happened that way. Some of them, you have a chemistry that goes beyond having a platonic relationship with them. And then the conversation goes in a different direction.
Bro, that's so funny nowadays. Like, whenever you meet people, it's like, oh yeah, let's exchange Instagrams, like, so fast. But to me, it's like, I just met you. I'm not trying to keep up with your life.
I don't see Instagram as your life. And I also don't see it as a way for me to really have a connection with you. So we're gonna catch up, let's exchange numbers. I would rather have a real conversation with you, or see you in person, than to follow a thread of pictures. And because I'm seeing you in pictures, I feel like I know you. I don't feel like I know you because I see you in pictures. I've seen Beyonce in a lot of pictures, but we're not friends.
Cause like fear of missing out. Like you have a partner now, but like there's someone better for you out there within very reasonable reach, because everything is reachable nowadays. I think that's what people feel like. What I think people feel like.
And both are false. Fear of missing out goes back to fear. Right? Of, is this person the right person for me? Am I the right person for them? Is there someone else out there that's better? Not only for me, but also for them. The answer, that's really the same question. If there's someone out there that's better for them, then there's also someone out there that's better for you. And if you're thinking about that, then the experience is rooted in fear. You said something else as well. So there's formal ones. Someone out there that's better for you.
Everybody's in reach.
Yes, everybody being in reach. Everyone is not in reach. You seeing someone doesn't mean that they're in reach. Like, you having easier access to a virtual environment where this person dwells doesn't really mean that they're in reach for you. There's also an illusion of social media. Y'all on the same platform. You're not of the same caliber because you use the same platform. As human beings, yes. There's no human life that's more valuable than another human life, spiritually speaking. In this Western society that we live in, that's not true, physically speaking. So just because I'm on the same platform as I'm on the same platform as Kevin Hart, doesn't mean Kevin Hart is reachable to me. Sliding in somebody's DM doesn't mean that they're reachable for you. Because back in the day, I could have, like for example, right now, you can Google Harpo Studios, find the address and write Oprah a handwritten letter. That doesn't make her reachable for you, just because you can write a letter to a business. That's essentially what sliding in Kevin's Hart DM would be equivalent to. I think it's part of the illusion of social media.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's tough out here. Because that illusion leads to delusion.
Yes. But essentially, it's the same answer it always has been. Just be yourself. Be the best version of that. Figure out what that is and pour into that. How can you be more of that? How can you improve that in every shape, form, or fashion? And whatever you are, you attract. So you'll attract more of what you are to you. So the objective is to improve what you are. That's still true. And somehow, some people seem to be missing that. Or have forgotten that because social media is so distracting for some. Natural laws are still natural laws.
Like no matter what times we were in, like that'll
Doesn't matter. They still hold true. Gravity is still gravity, even though we have planes now.
oh shit, yeah. And that pouring into yourself, how would that look like?
It's different for different people. Different methods work differently for different people. But essentially the concepts of it and the details are which method works for which person. But the concept is the same. And that is, who are you? Because everything is rooted in that. Who are you? What are you? And how can you nurture that? Instead of trying to run from that.
You gotta eat a lot. But it's gonna feel natural. It's not gonna feel forced. You're not gonna be bloated. Because the way we work out, your body's really gonna crave it. And make sure that the protein intake is high. So it's not that I'm eating a lot of, it's also the times that I'm eating proteins. It's only like before my workout and after my workout.
That's great.
Other than that, I'm not eating a lot of carbs at all.
But you don't determine how your body responds to food. Your workout doesn't determine how your body digests food.
No, but what happens is that you want fast absorbing carbs to fuel your workout.
Absolutely.
And also, carbs will help you right after your workout with digesting the protein better.
Absolutely.
So that's the reason why.
Indeed. But if you don't have if you don't have proper microbial balance in your gut, that doesn't matter. If you don't have good gut health, that doesn't matter. You can have a solid workout. Gut health is what determines how you digest food, not your workout. Your workout determines what your body is going to crave for, yes. But how well you can digest and absorb that is based on the organisms within your gut, not your training. It's good that you're doing this.
I'm liking the results. I know you don't see it, but like when I take off my shirt, I definitely see it. And I feel it too. As far as my core, it's a lot more. It's a lot stronger. Not my abs, but my core.
So nice. How long have you been working on it?
I think 2 or 3 weeks. Yeah.
And you already feel that much stronger?
Yeah.
Sounds like you've activated the muscle. Doesn't really sound like you're stronger.
No, I thought you asked if I felt stronger. What I am actually stronger. I haven't done those exercises twice. I've only done them once. So there's nothing to gauge it. I don't know what I'm stronger. But doing a lot of like those exercises where it's like a lot of athletic work, like exercises.
Yeah.
I feel better. That's I think what I feel. What I'm stronger really, I don't know. I haven't been under the bench or like under the squat bar.
That doesn't mean you're stronger either, because you lift more weights at the squat bar or the bench press. Because you could have muscles that just weren't activated. Bench press is not a compound movement. The bench press is an isolated workout.
I thought bench wasn't compound.
How?
Because you work in multiple joints. That's a compound movement.
What are your multiple joints?
Your shoulder joints, your elbow joints.
I mean, okay. But you're not moving your body.
No, you're laying down. That's
You're
what you're
moving your arms. Everything else is isolated. Everything else is stationary.
Again, I'd have to. I understand, but what they teach you when you like really like competitively benching is like your legs is really where a lot of power comes from. Like using people tear up their quad doing bench.
Yeah, but that's you just trying to get a lot of weight up. That's not you actually training the muscle that is meant to train. Bench press is not a quad exercise. Bench press is a chest exercise. And you can create a compound movement for smaller muscle groups, like your tricep or bicep on a bench press. Just like you can create even then it's not really a compound movement. It's just a different type of arm workout because your body is stationary. When your whole body is shifting, then you're doing a compound exercise. Like, yeah, you can, one of the easier ways to understand that is to say multiple joints are moving. Like a squat is your hips and your knees. But in a squat, everything is moving. You're shifting your whole body up and down, a push-up, up and down, a dip, up and down, a pull-up, up and down. Your whole body is moving. The objective is to essentially fight gravity with keeping your body stationary. But you're not fighting gravity, keeping your body stationary on a bench press. That's why it's not a compound movement. It's not just the joints.
What would you recommend as far as like a regimen? Someone that is relatively busy, that means has a 9 to 5 and has hobbies as well and a social life and wants to get started.
I'd say they should assess their why they want to do it. Because it's going to require sacrifice. And they're going to have to justify to themselves why the sacrifice is worth it. Because if you're training Even if you're not training necessarily, but working out. And you're doing it for, if you plan to be consistent with it, which could be for health reasons or beyond, it's going to require discipline. And I have to find a way to make it a habit. And for a person who's very busy, like the person that you described, they're going to have to take some time away from those other things that they're interested in order to allocate time to work out, or swap this new habit of working out with something that may be of less benefit to them at that point in their lives.
Yeah.
And justifying doing that requires a strong mind.
Right.
So I'll say start there.
And I assume that doesn't just go for going to the gym.
No, it's in there. That's everything.
What were some of the sacrifices that you think? Yeah, what was your why for like working out?
When I started, I wanted to look like Batman. I was watching television as a child. My favorite superhero was always Batman. And I wanted to look like that. But I thought that was just a cartoon. And then my mother met my stepfather. And he had just come home from prison. And his body looked like Batman. That was the first person I ever saw in real life with muscles. First person I remember seeing, at least. Like legit muscles. Not like, masked out, but like real muscles. 220 pounds, 230 pounds, 6-pack, like legs, everything, big calves. He was completely proportioned, arms big, back, everything, cut. He wasn't masked out. He had a really nice body. He looked like Terry Crews. He looked like Terry Crews. And I realized, oh, this is real. This is possible. You can actually look like this in real life. Started working out. I was 4 years old. Pretty much explains why I had such a childish reason. I was a child. But in doing that, I learned discipline because he wouldn't let me quit. Because after the first day of doing it, up until that point, you don't know what soreness is. You're 4 or 5 years old, you've never been sore before. I remember waking up out of my sleep crying because my body was sore and I didn't know how to deal with that pain. But he wouldn't let us quit. It's my brother-in-law. So that's how I started working out. Then I started breakdancing. And I started seeing how the benefit of working out helped me to be a better breakdancer because I was stronger. Then we were growing up in certain environments, so you had to protect yourself. And I started to see how working out and breakdancing had an effect on my ability to protect myself. Positive effect.
Right.
Or at least not positive. That's not the right way to say that. A beneficial effect. And then I started boxing. And again, when you start boxing or playing a sport, training is a part of that. Conditioning is a part of that. But I spent all of my formative years training. So I was advanced as far as that was concerned. And I started playing basketball. I was advanced because I'd spent so long training. By the time I really got good at basketball, I was probably like 11. So I've been working out since I was 4. Doing athletic things as well, not just doing push-ups, but we weren't going to the gym, so everything was calisthenics. We were doing gymnastics, everything is a calisthenic movement. So everything was about inner strength. Then we were breakdancing. That's all athletic. Those are all athletic activities. So by the time I made it to basketball, I was very practiced at being an athlete for someone who was so young. And I started to realize how working out accelerated everything that I did physically. Because I was very familiar with my body because I worked out. So it helped me with everything. And then throughout the years, I started to see the benefit in every aspect. And because of that, I really don't know what it's like not to be capable. Because of that, I identify as an athlete. So I always train. Because of that. So if there's the slightest inkling of me walking and something feeling off, I can feel it. Or if I feel like I'm kind of falling off, I can feel it in my body before I find myself in a physical situation where I have proof for it. Like I can feel myself losing strength before I go to the gym and realize I'm not lifting as much. I can feel my body being a little more stiff than usual without me having to go play a sport. I can feel my cardiovascular capability not being as efficient without having it being tested. And that's just from having the opportunity to be exposed to training at a very early age and therefore becoming more mindful of my body physically. My why changed over time, but it started out as, you want to look like Batman.
Captain America.
Mm-hmm. That was yours.
I saw that first movie. I was like, yeah.
And then, it was all sports related and just being capable. And now it's being healthy. It wasn't that when I was younger. After sports, it was all about being capable to protect myself. Between maybe 14 and 30 years old, it was all about being able to protect myself. That was the reason I trained. In addition to seeing myself as an athlete.
What do you think is like the importance of like how you see yourself to working out?
Is what creates your standards. How you see yourself is important. Not only in working out, but in life, because it creates your standards. If you see yourself as an athlete, or because I see myself as an athlete, there's a certain level of fitness that I require of myself. There's a certain level of capability, but there's also a certain aesthetic that I acquire for myself. When I look in the mirror, do I see someone who looks like an athlete? It's not only capability. I also want to see it. So they feed off of each other. But now it's about being healthy. Do I look like someone who's healthy to me? Do I feel good? Am I capable? Because a healthy body is a capable body.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the reason now it's no longer about sports or protecting myself and all those other things. It's all about health. At least that's the biggest why today, health.
And what do you think of like what helps like working out? How does that improve your health?
How does working out improve your health? If you don't use it, you lose it. If you don't challenge your heart. Working out, especially like strength training, it tells your body we're still young. There's still a demand on us. We still have to, the cells in your body work more intensely to reproduce themselves and reproduce themselves at the highest level possible because there's a necessity for them to do so. So it keeps your body functioning properly. It keeps your body functioning at a high level. So it prolongs the deterioration of your body. That's how working out improves your health.
Is there like an age where you're like, all right, I'm done working out?
No.
You gonna be 90 and still working out?
Definitely.
What's that gonna look like?
It's gonna look like yoga, Pilates, lots of walking, calisthenics, light weights, high repetition. Light, that's relative. Light for me, high repetition. Lots of sleep, lots of water. At that point, I'll probably be eating 1 meal a day. Yeah. That's what fitness for me at that age looks like. Everything healthy, only what my body needs. No sugar, no salt, no oil.
No olive oil either?
Probably not.
How you gonna cook?
Yeah, that's the question.
Butter, just straight butter.
No, probably not butter either. Steam everything. There's people who eat this way. There's people who eat with no oil, no salt, no sugar. That's a learning curve for me. I would have to figure that out.
Oven.
Definitely nothing fried. Everything in the oven. Or steamed. That's what I imagine working out looking like, or training looking like for me at night.
I'm looking forward to it, man.
Me too.
Hopefully by that time I'm sort of...
Not looking forward to it, coming too soon, but I'm looking forward to it.
Hopefully I caught up with you by that time.
I don't think so.
Damn, really? You don't think ever we gonna be pushing the same weight?
I think you can push the same weight as someone and not be at the same level as them. For example, my brother's stronger than me. He can push the same weight as me. If there ever came a point where he decided, hey, I don't want to be a bodybuilder anymore, he would change his approach to training. And we could potentially be lifting the same weights, but he would still be stronger than me.
So you think that's genetics? Like us two never being...
Part of it is genetics, part of it is training, part of it is time. You won't catch me as far as time.
Sure.
And you don't have a reason to train as intensely as I did. Your training is way more scientific. When I started out, I was training based on heart alone. It didn't even make sense scientifically, really. So it was more of a survival thing at some point as well. So when you're working out in survival mode and you're thinking that this is helping you, you're not saying, let me work out for an hour because I don't want my cortisol levels to get out of control and I don't want it to create inflammation in my body. You're saying I'm doing 500 push-ups every day. Minimum. I was going to the gym 2 hours and doing 500 push-ups a day. That's the inspiration and survival mode. So the muscle plasticity that you create in doing that, you don't lose. It may lie dormant if you're not using it, but it doesn't go away. And it takes way more effort to build the muscle than it does to maintain it. So I can maintain the muscle with 200 push-ups a day. But to build it, I did 500 a day for years. You don't have to do that. So I don't imagine you catching me.
All right.
You don't, like, even your heart for training is not the same. You approach it scientifically.
But you said that as if that's like a bad thing.
No. It's not. I didn't mean to say it that way, if that's how it came across.
Right.
I didn't mean it to be condescending at all.
Not even, no, I'm not talking about like, but like more like you put the two like side to side. It's like, because in the light of like me not catching up, which I know I won't, but you think scientific is for someone trying to figure out a way, a roadmap to reach their fitness goals. the scientific way, would you say that's the way to go or not?
I think it depends on what your inspiration is.
Captain America.
Yeah, I understand that, but it's like when we talk about diet. A person's longevity is really, and to a large extent, not 100%, but to a large extent, a person's longevity is based on how happy they are and how balanced the energy in their body remains. Are there any blockages that create disease? Doesn't matter what they eat, it passes right through. Because their body is operating at an optimal level because there's minimal stress. Now, I say that to say that can also apply to training. Because a lot of breakthroughs that happen in science are made possible through data inspired by the spirit. Meaning a person does something that they weren't supposed to be able to do, but the inspiration for that person to do it was so strong that they accomplished it. Now science feels the need to have to explain it. So a person approaching training with heart may do something that science has yet to acknowledge. And because of that, person with heart, now science can embark into a new journey to discover something new. And also the person may be capable of something that they probably would not have been interested in executing had they not had an emotional attachment to it, had they only been basing it off science. The science is mental. That's not emotionally inspiring for science is not emotionally inspiring for me to go to the gym. But for a person in prison who feels like their physical capability is going to be the determining factor of whether or not they survive, they have a whole different type of inspiration. So they're doing 1,000 push-ups in a day. They're doing 500 pull-ups. They're doing 500 squats. Because they're not concerned with what the science is. They're going to do it until their body says no more. And that's going to be determined by heart, not by science.
So then how can someone who's not in those predicaments lean into that?
Same. You don't have to be in that predicament. Michael Jordan wasn't in that predicament. We've seen The Last Dance. We've seen him literally like make up stories so he could perform. How attached are you to what you're doing? How passionate are you to what you're doing? This goes back to a conversation we had previously. Discipline is discipline. Hopefully you can pull it out of yourself. Hopefully life doesn't have to back you into a corner and force you to do it. So you don't have to find yourself in a life and death situation in order to exercise discipline. You can just have a goal that you really care about. That really feeds you, that really drives you, that you have a real emotional attachment to, and then you can pursue whatever it is that you put your heart to. Yeah, that's how. I would hope I would hope more people understand that they don't need to go to prison or the military to be disciplined.
What do you think is like the lifespan, not the lifespan, in what amount of time you can really make a drastic shift in your life by yourself, no external factors?
What do you mean?
Like I said, I mean, like if you go into a car crash, your life changes drastically. But I mean, for yourself, without it.
I think it's the same. It's a moment. There can be a series of events that lead up to that moment. The change happens in a moment. You can say, I'm going to go to the gym and change my body and exercise discipline and work out 5 days a week. Maybe 6 months into that, you establish a new identity. That moment that you establish a new identity is what changes things.
So really it's like 6 months though.
No. It's a moment. Because you could also not have had the 6 months. You could walk down the block and decide I'm going to the gym from now on.
But if you don't do it, then you haven't changed.
But you haven't established a new identity if you don't do it. Real change comes from a shift in your standards. And a shift from your standards comes from how you identify yourself.
And where does that come from?
How you identify yourself? Truth. Are you living your life for someone else's? You know that based on how comfortable you feel on a day-to-day basis. Do you feel uncomfortable being yourself? And if the answer is yes, then probably it's because you're not being yourself. And oftentimes acknowledgement of truth comes from stillness.
Does that also include like solitude?
It doesn't have to be in solitude.
What do you mean stillness?
Lack of motion, lack of distraction. Internal stillness.
And then how does that I'm trying to see how you pivot from realizing, let's say you're not comfortable with yourself, to changing how you see yourself. Was that how you breach that gap?
The realization is how you breach that gap. You realize that you're not comfortable being yourself, which is how you realize you're not yourself. That's the beginning to becoming yourself.
How do you pick a career?
How do you pick a career? I think there's different stages to picking a career. No, excuse me. I think there's different aspects to picking a career. And I also think there's different approaches. So one way is very intentional. It's, for example, a person that's always been infatuated with law. And from a child knew that they wanted to be a lawyer. They didn't need to be convinced to do so by their parents. They didn't need to hear about how this is a good profession. They didn't need any of that. They were always interested in it from the moment that they were exposed to it. And they pursued it, and they became lawyers. And there's a particular path that you go through to become a lawyer. Same with doctors, etc. And there's some people who stumble upon a career and there's a lot of ways to stumble upon a career. So I think rather than being concerned with how to choose a career, it all comes back to who are you and what can you do to who are you? What are your talents and what can you do to live your life out through your talent? And what skill sets can you acquire to complement your talent? If you actually have a passion for your talent. Because not everyone has a passion for the things that they're actually good at. And then today, with technology and things changing so rapidly, how likely are people to have careers moving forward? Maybe every decade, people are doing things differently. Maybe we redefine what a career is. If you're doing something for more than 5 years, it's considered a career. As opposed to our parents who did something for 30 years. Well, they did this one thing for 30 years, and that was what a career was. So perhaps how you find a career or choose a career is first defining what a career is to you. It all starts with who you are, essentially, and what you're interested in, truly. And what you think will feed you now.
Financially or with energy?
Both. The concept of only caring about energy is partial perspective.
What's missing in the equation?
Finance. How are you going to feed yourself? How are you going to live? How are you going to acquire the resources necessary to create peace in your life? Because then you can, through peace, you can create a vision for your life that's actually great. And that'll feel great in the process of doing it. A lot of people create great things in survival mode. but it doesn't feel great in the process. It feels like they're running from something. So, in a lot of instances, it feels like fear. A career could be one thing that you do continuously, which is a luxury, to find something that's relevant for an extended period of time that you're also passionate about. And then there's also the thread that holds all of the different professional occupations a person has had together, because they all build upon the other one. So you can have an undertone of a concept in everything that you've done, and you can say that's your life's work, even though you have more than one actual profession.
But they're all sort of like related.
There's something in each one of them that led to the other. Even if it's not readily, even if it's not obvious.
Like a furrow.
Like a furrow. Yes. Like a Jay-Z, like a Dr. Dre. Like a Snoop. Snoop is even more interesting because he looks spontaneous, but nothing is off-brand.
He does a lot of commercials. So many. It's like,
but he's always himself. He's always himself. It's always on brand.
yeah.
So it's hard to say Snoop doesn't have a career. With some people, it's much more obvious. We can say they had a music career, they had an acting career, they have a production career, etc., etc. You can separate it that way. But you can also look at it and say, they have multiple professions, but they have one career.
Mm-hmm.
If you're basing it off of their life's work. Oprah has an amazing career. But what does that mean? Because Oprah has done a lot of different things. And she's done a lot of different things well. A lot of people forget that Oprah started out as an actress. And then it was television, a television show with magazines, etc. And in the beginning, it didn't seem seamless. But over time, when we look at it, we realize it was. So then it's less about the profession, it's more about your life's work. Because when people talk about Oprah, they talk about her having an amazing career, being an amazing entrepreneur, being an amazing businesswoman.
Mm-hmm.
But those same concepts can apply to you even if you have a job. Typically, career is not something that people associate with entrepreneurs unless the entrepreneur is doing the same thing. Some people make it even more abstract where entrepreneurship is the career. It's not really about the industry or the profession, except it's you're a professional entrepreneur, which doesn't really make sense, right? Because to be a professional is something just means you do it for compensation, for financial gain. Doesn't even mean you're really good at it. You're going to be a professional and not be really good at something. Just good enough to someone for them to pay you for it. But this is why it's challenging to find a career. And because of that challenge, there's certain avenues that people try to choose that have already been paved, where the way has already been paved, like being a doctor or being a lawyer, an accountant, an engineer, those things. Even a social worker or what have you, a teacher. But it's not so clear in other aspects.
Yeah.
Or other professions. And even with being a lawyer, there's people who are lawyers for 10, 15 years, but they're not lawyers for 40 years. You could say, oh, I had a 10-year career as a lawyer. And then you became a chef.
Right.
Right? And then you had a 25, 30-year career as a chef. But there was still a connection there. It was still about piecing information together and creating a story. Right? It's just in the courtroom, the story is verbal. It's based on rhetoric. And as a chef, the story comes together on the plate. But you still gotta find the ingredients to create the story. It's the same thing that a lawyer does. They have to find the facts to help them create the story. So if we look at your professions, they're different. But your life's work is providing answers via storytelling.
I think in that case, like really knowing yourself does help.
Knowing yourself helps with everything. But self comes in phases. Who you are is rather consistent, but how you express that is not. That changes over time.
Right. So then once you define what a career is for you, what will be the next step?
Depends on what you want in your life. Next step could be buying a house. Next step could be getting married. Next step could be having a child. That's typically what it is. You go to college, get a job, have a premeditated concept of what you're going to do over the next 30 years for a career. Meet the woman of your dreams or the man of your dreams or what have you. Buy a home. Start a family. That, at least traditionally, that was the concept. Maybe different now. Some people opt out of the family aspect. Some people opt out of the partner aspect. They're not really interested in being in a monogamous relationship or sharing their lives with one person. Doesn't necessarily mean that you have to be monogamous. So it depends on what you want to do with it. Some people don't have any plans after that. They lean into work.
They kind of let that lead their life, you mean? Whatever work demands from them, they'll do.
No, I mean, they choose a career. So it's not whatever work is available to them, they'll do. But they don't have a plan for their lives after choosing a career. So they lean further into work. It's not a holistic approach to life.
Why not?
Depends on the person.
But you say it was not holistic. Why isn't it holistic?
Because it's only one part of life. It's only career, it's only business. It's not relationships. It's not your physical health. It's not. Life is dynamic. It requires our presence in multiple areas. If we want anything we do to be sustainable.
When it comes to like a career, what would be like the goal behind it? Behind finding a career?
That depends on the person as well. Hopefully the objective would be to contribute